November 13th, 1974, 3:15 a.m. In Amityville, 6 people were executed in their beds while they slept. No neighbor heard a thing. Not a single victim tried to escape. It was as if the house itself had swallowed the sound of death, or as if the victims were no longer masters of their own bodies. Blood soaked the mattresses in an unnatural silence that even today, decades later, seems to vibrate within the walls of this cursed structure. Ronald DeFeo Jr. always maintained that he was not alone that night. He said the voices commanded him, whispers emanating from the dark hallways. But the horror did not end with his arrest or his life sentences. 13 months later, the Lutzes moved in seeking a new beginning, but the house had other plans. Soon, the pattern repeated itself in a chilling way. George Lutz began to transform before his family's eyes. He stopped shaving. He stopped bathing. His gaze became erratic, lost in some invisible point in space. He became obsessed with the fireplace, chopping wood frantically as if an otherworldly cold were freezing his soul from the inside out. Exactly like Ronald, months before the massacre. The house didn't want new owners. It wanted a new executioner to continue the cycle of pain. Every night, at the exact hour of the massacre, George would wake up with his heart hammering against his ribs. Something was calling him from the boathouse. Something was watching him from the shadows, waiting for the moment his will would finally break. Hidden behind the basement walls, the Lutzes found what the architectural blueprints had tried to conceal for years. The Red Room, a small claustrophobic space that exhaled the stench of old blood and decay. The family dogs would bristle and howl at the emptiness in front of that wall, sensing a presence that human logic cannot explain. It is said that there, an ancient practitioner of black magic named John Ketchum opened a door that should never have been touched, a wound in reality that never closed. And then there was the Jody factor, a wound in reality that never closed. And then this was no ordinary imaginary friend of a little girl. Missy described a giant pig with red eyes like glowing embers. George eventually saw it with his own eyes. 2 glowing red points watching him from his daughter's window in the dead of night. Jody whispered a promise to little Missy that still echoes through the halls. "You are going to live here forever." It wasn't a kind invitation. It was a death sentence. Even the most famous investigators in the world, Ed and Lorraine Warren, were overcome by the energy of this property. Ed reported being thrown against a wall by an invisible force that knocked the breath out of him, while Lorraine felt a presence she described as pure, inhuman hate vibrating in the foundations. During one of their seances, in one of their infrared photos, he appeared, a small child with eyes glowing in the total darkness of the staircase. Many are convinced it is the spirit of John DeFeo, the youngest of the murdered siblings, trapped eternally in a loop of terror in the place where he lost his life. A constant reminder that in Amityville, the dead never truly rest in peace. Much has been said about what is real and what is legend, but there are questions that skepticism cannot erase. Why did George and Kathy Lutz flee in the middle of the night, leaving absolutely all their possessions behind? They left their money, their clothes, and their children's toys, never to return for them. Those looking for logical explanations speak of money, but those who have felt the cold of that house know that the price of staying was much higher than any debt. The price of staying was surrendering your own life to the darkness that resides beneath the soil of Ocean Avenue. Today, 112 Ocean Avenue has a different address and different windows to try and hide its past. The current owners say peace reigns there, but the legend of Amityville is like a virus that refuses to die. It is a mirror of our deepest fears about the place where we should be safest. our home. What do you believe? Was it the mind of a man consumed by rage? Or was it the hunger of a house that never stopped being thirsty? If you could buy that house for $1, would you dare to spend a night in the Red Room? Leave your answer below. Subscribe for more stories that will remind you why you fear the dark. I'm your host, and this was Amityville.